Appearance on Dion's Daily Dose does not imply endorsement from or by any candidate or guest. The views, thoughts, and opinions expressed by Dion Bergeron or Dion's Daily Dose are his own and do not represent the views, thoughts, and opinions of any guest. Material and information presented is for general information purposes only. The Dion's Daily Dose name in all forms and abbreviations are the property of its owners, and its use does not imply endorsement of or opposition to any specific organization, product, or service. If you'd like to support the show, please visit our Patreon at patreon.com/Dion's Daily Dose.
All right. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Dion's Daily Dose for Monday, August 10th. So I got a new setup. I don't know if you can tell. You can see the edge of the desk here, and the angle's a little different. My wife finally demanded her desk back. Dang. I really actually liked her desk just because of the sheer size of it. It's a big, I don't know, oak, maybe teacher's desk with the drawers and stuff. So I broke down. I looked around for a desk for a while, seeing what I could find. This is what we were able to come up with. It's like an L shape, right? I have the monitor over here in the corner and keyboard here. I will say that it allows my mic to be off to the right, so at least it's not in the frame anymore. I think that's an improvement. I'm not sold yet on the camera positioning. May have to work with that a little bit, see if I can come up with something better. But for now, I think it'll work. Today, okay, thank you, Jack. Jack says there's a lot of reverb echo. Let's see here. Let me try to turn that down. Can you tell me if that is better, please? I don't think there's a reverb setting on this. Let me see here. I don't think anything got mixed. Okay, running a test. Is that any better? Testing. 1, 2, 3. Let's see if that is any better. Again, Jack said a lot of reverb, echo. See, I'm looking on the mic thing here, and oh, wait a minute, maybe there is. No. Hold on. How about now? Is that better? Testing. 1, 2, 3. Okay, let's try to drop it down. All right, how about there? Is that better? Put that back to where it was. I actually didn't mess with any of the settings on the mic setup, so I'm not sure what could be happening here. Okay, so did that seem to take care of it? Is it easier and better to hear me now? Excellent. Okay. Good deal. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. For those of you just tuning in or who didn't want to make it past the audio issues, again, I've got a new setup. I had to reset everything up, and the microphone is in a different spot now, so it is possible. I turned the gain way down. I'm going to try to play with it with some headphones later and see if I can't get the audio ideal. It used to be significantly better. I don't know what's going on here, but it is what it is. I've got everything closed, but all the stuff is right where it was before. I'm not sure, but I'll play with it later. Thank you for fixing that. It's understandable now and works well now, right? Jack said, I think it is the sound. It is picking up the sound bouncing around the room, which is completely possible. I cranked the gain back down. So hopefully this will take care of it. Oops. There's always glitches, right? There's always something or other that isn't quite right when you get a new setup. So uh, let's let's talk today first before we get into the main topic. I saw this and it is absolutely mind-boggling. Absolutely mind-boggling. Let me share with you what this is. This is from the Tennessee Star. There are a few places that have reported this. Metro Nashville council member wants people not wearing a mask to be charged with murder or attempted murder. I kid you not. Right here, Tennessee Star. Again, I will provide a link for you. Let's put this in here. Boom. Hi, Michelle. Let me get this before it crawls away. Hey, good to see you. Oh, you can't see me. Hold on. Hi. Put this back up there. Yes, indeed. This this lady, Metro Nashville council member, uh, Sharon Hurt, said during a virtual meeting of the Joint Public Safety and Health Committee that there should be stronger legislation for those not wearing masks and suggested they be charged with murder or attempted murder. Hurt said that she works for an organization that, quote, if they pass the virus, then they are tried for murder or attempted murder. Hurt thinks the same standard should apply to the general public. Quote, this person who may very well pass this virus that's out in the air because they're not wearing a mask is basically doing the same thing to someone who contracts it and dies from it, she said. Quote, maybe there needs to be stronger legislation to say that if you do not wear a mask and you subject exposure of this virus to someone else, then there will be some stronger penalty as it is in other viruses that are exposed, the council member added. Nashville City Councilwoman Sharon Hurt. Hurt's suggestion comes as the Nashville-Davidson County COVID-19 dashboard indicates a recent decline in new daily cases of COVID-19 and a fatality rate of 0.9%. With regard to mask enforcement, Hurt was critical of the actions to date. It seems to me that we have been more reactive as opposed to proactive and a little too late, too little. Hurt had to be reminded by Metro Nashville's Director of Legislative Affairs, Mike Jamison, who also participated in the virtual meeting, whose jurisdiction it is to create a new code or class of criminal offenses. Quote, the council does not have the opportunity on its own to create criminal legislation, he said. In terms of creating a new code or class of criminal offenses, that is a creature of state law. Hurt expressed her disappointment. Quote, I was afraid that was going to be the answer. Yes, yes, yes. Um, so I will say this. If you are positive for a deadly virus, right? Let's take HIV, for example. I don't know if I've talked about this a little bit before, but I'm going to mention it here just so we can talk about it. It's on the topic, right? Responsibility. My mom was very good friends. She had a number of friends that were openly gay. Now, this was in the late 80s, right? You guys remember the movie Philadelphia? It was not popular, and the AIDS epidemic was devastating that community. It was devastating all over, but especially the um, and there were those people who would have HIV and would go out and knowingly sleep with other people in order to spread it. In that case, I believe that that sort of legislation is a good thing. If you knowingly are spreading HIV, no, especially let's look at the late 80s. There was no cure, there was no treatment, it was a death sentence. If you are going out spreading HIV, then I believe you should be charged if you knowingly transmit it. This is a very, very different story. However, um, Jack or Michelle makes a good point. What about those with breathing? masks make it hard for them to breathe. There are exemptions. There are medical exemptions, right, across the nation. Um, and unfortunately, there are some businesses who don't understand that and who don't react to that. If you have a medical exemption, then you have an exemption. Uh, Again, this is a woman who is calling for a sentence of attempted murder or murder with no explanation, no expansion of the topic, right? So, I the reason for the topic today is actually kind of interesting because I was talking to a couple of people that one of them is someone that's running for office fairly locally, next district over, running for state rep as a Democrat. And they posted about the horrible things that are going on in Chicago and essentially said that it was Trump's fault. I even asked him, I replied and I said, I just want to make sure, are you saying that what's going on in Chicago is Trump's fault? And he affirmed that, yeah, basically, you want to paint things with a broad brush, sure. I take issue with that in a number of levels. Number one, for those of you who are not aware, and I'm sure I know everyone watching right now is well aware that Chicago has been on the decline for a number of years. Violence has been prevalent throughout the city, especially in gang warfare areas, things like that. Chicago has had an epidemic long before Donald Trump even became a nominee, right? Uh, my point was your blind hatred of Trump is leading you to believe that everything is his fault. Everything comes down to Orange Man bad. Uh, and his response was shocking because it was, if you want to believe Orange Man good, then fine. And I said, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is the epidemic of violence that Chicago has had for many years, why aren't you calling out the lawmakers, the people in charge in Chicago? Um, why aren't you? These people should take responsibility. Uh, Basically, everyone in charge in Chicago is on the left. It's the Democrat Party, right? Most of the state lawmakers, even in the rest of Illinois, it's very prevalent. The Democrat Party. I'm not hearing any blame. I'm not hearing any, hey, this isn't working. Um, and I said, I suppose that, even their upside down budget is now Trump's fault, right? And this is what it comes down to. Um, Look, we can argue back and forth about what's Trump's fault, what's not Trump's fault, uh, what he's done, what he hasn't done. It's like those posts that attribute everything positive that has happened since he took office and give 100% of the credit to Donald Trump. There are some issues with that as well, which has been pointed out by several of my let's say left leaning uh, trolls slash Facebook friends who have said it wasn't just Trump who got this passed, right? There was legislation, it had to go through the House, it had to go through the Senate, and then it came to the president's desk. All he did was sign it. Okay, fair point. So if you are able to take away some of the responsibility for the good that has been done under the Trump administration, then doesn't it stand to reason that you should then take away from some of the bad you're blaming him for? I mean, just think about that. Um, and you're absolutely right, Michelle. It is sad that they are absolutely destroying businesses. I have a link that I shared that can actually show you um, what's going on right now in Chicago with the various police calls and this and that that's going on. It's horrific. It's gotten so bad that even cities in Northwest Indiana are actually um, sharing, or excuse me, blocking roads. Um, I actually have one that I'll share with you so you can see. Um, let's get to it real quick. It's it's really sad. Um, let's see here. Here it is. Okay. So, Region News Source, which I personally am a big fan of. I just wanted to go to the post. Dang it. Excuse me. All right. So, I'm going to share this with you so you can see what I'm talking about. Boom. It has gotten so bad that we have Calumet City has closed ramps at 159th, Sibley Boulevard, and Dalton Road. You will still be able to get on the on ramps in both directions, however. Sibley is closed eastbound at 94. Southbound Torrance Avenue will also be closed at 159th Street. Traffic will be diverted. Additionally, access to River Oaks East and West shopping centers is now restricted. River Oaks is closed. Munster, north and southbound Calumet at Little Calumet River will be closed until further notice. Northbound traffic closed at Calumet and Ridge. Lansing, beginning at 1 p.m. today, both the eastbound and westbound exit ramps of 8094 at Torrance Avenue will be closed until further notice. Northbound Torrance Avenue closed at 170th. And just so everyone's aware, if I suddenly go offline, probably because of the power outages, because there's supposed to be a huge storm, massive storm coming through. If you have not experienced it yet, you probably will soon. Uh, and Michelle, this is exactly my point. She said it. People always want to blame someone else, but not look in the mirror at themselves or how they raise their kids. And that is absolutely a critical problem right now. It is responsibility versus blame. So, do you remember? Those of you with children are absolutely know what I'm talking about. But who did that, right? Oh, the dog did it. The cat did it. My invisible friend did it. Shifting blame. That's fine for a toddler. It's fine for a young child. But this is the point when you talk to them and you explain how assigning blame works and taking responsibility for the things that you do. If you go out and you drink, right? You get drunk and you drive drunk and you hit someone and you injure them, you are responsible. They are not responsible. If you are driving under the influence and you hit someone and hurt them, you're responsible for your actions. Just like if you are in the process of committing a crime and someone gets hurt, the law has determined that you can be held responsible. We can argue ups and downs of that, but unfortunately, that's where we're at. We have people who refuse to take responsibility for their actions, and it's it's mind blowing. There are those who actually honestly believe that everyone else is responsible, not them. They didn't do anything wrong. Everybody else is responsible. And in order to in order to facilitate good in your life, you have to recognize where the good and bad comes from. You have to recognize what you've done, your part in it, make the necessary changes in order to change those things. Uh, so, give you an example from when my kids go to school. I try to communicate with every single teacher, and I tell the teacher, look, if you're having a problem with my child, here is my cell phone number, here is my email address. Communicate with me directly so we can get it resolved. Because my son used to like to come home and talk about how much his teachers hated him, that they were against him and they just didn't like him, and et cetera, right? But by communicating with the teacher, it turns out that he just talked in class all the time. And so he would get in trouble. We have to teach our children responsibility. We have to teach our children that their actions, that they are responsible for those actions. Just like, just like uh, children, right? Who you tell them, look, you can't play video games, but I'm going out for a little while. I have to run some errands or go visit a friend or what, go to work, whatever it is you have to do. The child has to make the choice, right? They have to make the choice about whether or not they're going to be grounded and accept that responsibility for it, or whether they're going to play video games on the down low, on the sly, right? And I explained to them, you have a choice, right? But there are consequences for choices. We live in a free society, mostly. You always have a chance to do whatever you want to do. You can go out and do whatever you want to do, but there are there are many consequences for actions. If you go out and you hurt someone, then you are responsible for that. Uh, Michelle, and this is Michelle says, I saw a post from someone in Chicago saying it was residents of Indiana that was looting in Chicago. That comes from the top. That comes from the mayor blaming everyone else for the problems in Chicago. And it's nothing new. Gun violence, it's all Indiana's fault, according to Mayor Lightfoot. All Indiana's fault. And you're absolutely right, Michelle. The old saying is spare the rod, spoil the child. And that's if you do not discipline your child, you're going to end up with very serious consequences. Just like with the whole debate about whether spanking, and let me be very clear, there's a difference between spanking a child and beating a child. I do not advocate beating, but sometimes a spank is what's necessary. That I know when I was a kid, when I was a child, cat trying to get out. My mom spanked me. I got out of line. I got spanked. I've been spanked with switches and flip flops and bare hand and belts and you name it. My mom didn't beat me. She disciplined me. Let me show you real quick what I'm talking about. I found the link for this, the live update from Chicago, right? Let me show you what is going on here. So we can zoom way in and you can see all of the looting. That's what these the little hood looking red ones are. Looting, looting, looting. Look down here at the Magnificent Mile. Look at this, ladies and gentlemen. Look at all of these. Yeah, I know. Privacy's gone, I know. But looters at Jimmy Choo and Oak Street. Now these were quite a number of hours ago. Cooper's Hawk, Currency Exchange, more looting on the streets. South State Street, looters seen at Urban Outfitters, police riots. This was all the Apple Store at North Avenue and Clybourne Avenue was damaged early Monday during the widespread looting. Um, Officers were arresting looters when someone in a car heading south started shooting. Excuse me. Bridges were up Monday morning. Jewelry stores. Detectives still investigating scene at Lake in Michigan. North and Cicero looting. Look at this. I mean, pages and pages and pages of this stuff. Um, Bullet holes riddle River North businesses after looting and chaos overnight, an unfortunately familiar sight for many business owners who just reopened after the previous unrest. Some businesses will not be able to reopen. Karlov Madison, SWAT using gas at the 10-1, Libertyville box alarm. Karlov looking north from Madison Street, Chicago. Dozens of volunteers helped clean up the mess by looters. Libertyville, helicopter above the scene, SWAT in the intersection, but not clear why. Push into a neighborhood, officer hit by a brick, getting stuff thrown at them. Minivan tried to hit a police officer and fled. Meanwhile, things still being thrown. Now it's all tornado warning stuff. But this is, it's everywhere. It's absolutely everywhere. And you can see just the sheer number of posts and links that are happening there, and Indiana is responding by shutting down, blocking intersections, blocking exit ramps from the interstate. Uh, this, of course, is having an effect on people that are trying to get home from their jobs. I just don't know. It comes down to me, and look, I've made it very clear that I'm no fan of Mayor Lightfoot. That said, I think this is her opportunity to get her city under control. If she just keeps abdicating responsibility and saying, oh, it's all Indiana's fault, it's all Trump's fault, what's going to change realistically? What's going to fix Chicago? Um, and Michelle, that's a great point. She says they're destroying places and then want free aid because they can't work due to business closing because of damages. I just don't understand the way of thinking. Well, it's interesting you brought that up because if you remember in Minneapolis, right? They had the riots in Minneapolis, and the people in charge told the PD to stand down, told them, don't stop it, right? Allow it to happen. Now there are hundreds of millions of dollars in damage, if not billions of dollars. And they expect the federal government to pick up the tab. Now, that would be all of your and my money. Let's be very clear. I pay taxes. I know you do as well. That's our tax money. Do you want your tax dollars, your federal dollars, going to fix the destruction in Minneapolis because the people in charge in Minneapolis said, "Oh, it's okay. They can destroy and burn and loot. Not a problem." Well, if it's not a problem, if it's okay, then why do you need money rebuilding? Um, it literally looked like a war zone, and that's my point. Responsibility. Now, one more thing as far as blind hatred allegiance, right? And this is kind of the crux of the argument. Just like you can't look, and let me be very clear, blind hatred of anything is not good. It's not good at all. And I would say the hatred itself is a bad emotion, right? I can understand it, especially people that, hurt children. It's very easy to hate. But let's look at the emotion as it applies to, you can wait. It's my cat. He really wants out with the doors closed. Uh, if you are so blinded by hatred of Donald Trump that you can't agree, even in a small manner, that there are other politicians that A, have been in office far longer than he has, and B, that are more local, that may be responsible for a local place's problems, I think that's an issue. Uh, I think it requires a reevaluation of your way of thinking, just like blind allegiance to anything is also bad. Just look, I've said before, there are some things that Trump has done that I don't agree with. Most notably, the bump stock ban and red flag laws. I am against both of those for reasons that I've stated on numerous occasions. So I don't blindly say everything that Trump does is good. There are things that I disagree with. But nobody on the face of the planet, no human is perfect at all. No administration is perfect. So I've made my position on Trump very clear. I've made my position on his administration clear. Blind allegiance versus blind hatred, neither are good. They both tie together, right? Blind, without looking at any of the facts, without looking at anything other than what source of information you receive, and not being cognizant of the variety of facts that are out there. And we all fall into it. We all fall into our cognitive dissonance to a degree, uh, just like people on the far left. And I hesitate to use the word liberal because let's face it, at the time that slavery was abolished, the people who wanted to abolish slavery were considered very liberal, right? So it's a word that gets thrown around, but many times it's misused, to say the least. It's become synonymous with the progressives, and I think it does a disservice to both. But the far left are the people that I'm talking about, the socialism, socialist, Democrat, whatever you want to call it. Um, they're the ones that are pushing for the socialist agenda, the blurring of the lines between what's good, what's bad, stuff like that. I may not agree with what they say, but I don't try to shut down the argument. That's one thing that I've noticed, and don't get me wrong, they're guilty on both sides of the political aisle for this, but I've noticed that primarily, at least in conversations that I've had, the left is far less willing to have an actual discussion. We were talking about this earlier today, my wife and I, and we have experienced family members who have completely shut us out of their lives because we don't hate Donald Trump, and that's what it comes down to. For those of you who have seen my videos, I don't I don't exclusively share pro Trump stuff left and right. I try to share a variety of things, and I try to make sure that the information that I share is accurate. Again, I've said it before. There have been a couple where I was like, "Oops, that's not right," and so I'll delete it. But I have yet to see a conservative stop talking to a family member because of their political beliefs. However, on multiple occasions, I have been told by friends, family, they stopped talking to me because I don't hate Trump. They stopped talking to me because I voted for Trump. They stopped talking to me because I won't do this or I, said that. They blocked me. They did this. They did that. Have you experienced that? Have you been blocked or disowned by a family member because of what you believe? How silly is that? We used to be able to talk. We used to be able to sit down and have an honest discussion uh, about things that we disagreed on, right? That was the whole point of having the discussion to see where we were together and where we were apart. Yeah, Michelle says yes, she has, and my wife's aunt, right? And it was such a simple thing. It was a post about the immigration policy in Arizona and stopping drivers. I think initially, and how it was racist. And the only thing that was said, I believe, was it, immigration problems are from all different countries. It isn't one specific country, right? It isn't just Guatemala or Mexico or any south of the U.S. We have people who overstay visas. We have people who sneak into the country. We have people from all across the world. Just a quick thought: if the United States is so bad and evil, then why do we have incredible numbers of people still trying to get here, both legally and illegally? Think about that for a moment. But we used to be able to have a discussion. And that's why, unless someone advocates for violence, if you advocate for violence on my social media, I will block you. If you can't at least have a reasonable discussion, then eventually I may not have a choice just because don't feed the trolls, right? But I do believe in people's First Amendment right very, very strongly, not only to say what you want, but I believe it's critical that we actually have a discussion about that. And you're absolutely right, Dave. Dave says, I don't know what happened to the tolerant left. You're absolutely correct. That was that that was the hallmark, right? I may not agree with what you say, but I fully support your right to say it. My challenge to everyone is: do you support speech that you are personally against? Right? So, what I mean is, if someone is saying things that are blatantly anti whatever, right? Whether it's, yeah, you'll be okay, you can wait, Dexter. Um, do you support their right to say it? I do. Even though I may disagree wholeheartedly with what they say, I do support their right to say it. So we've covered a lot today. I plan on having more. I don't expect that I will have a video on Wednesday. And that also explains the absence for the last couple of days, trying to get this desk set up, trying to get everything working. Again, it still isn't perfect, but I'll show you this just so you can see it. If any of you have ever played Mass Effect, um, pick that up at, let's see, I don't know if you can read it. It says Elite at the top, and in 7, my buddy, he's into those, uh, the the groups where they get together for anime and stuff like that, conventions, right? Uh, the ones where you dress up and go. It's not my thing, but he asked me to go with him to one, and I did, and it was interesting, right? It was an anime convention that I went to. It was actually one of the biggest in the Midwest, is my understanding, and I think he felt bad because I don't know, it wasn't my thing, but I went nonetheless to hang out with my Comic Con. Yeah, there you go, Michelle. Thank you. Yeah, this was the anime version of Comic Con. And I went. It was interesting. We went to some panels, learned some stuff that I didn't know, but we also went, like, they have a bunch of stuff that you can buy, right? They got the comics for sale. They got various videos and manga and animes for sale and old episodes of stuff. And we ran across this, and I was looking at it, and my buddy picked it up for me because, like I said, I think he I think he felt bad. But I did dress up. I will admit, I dressed up as, oh, man, I don't even remember what it was. Um, I think it was Van Helsing, the anime. I think I dressed up. I got pictures somewhere. I'll show you sometime. It felt very awkward. It was weird, but he was so excited and really into it, so I tried to help him out. For the future, though, oh, so much walking, like so much walking. We Anyway, that's a story for another time. But I appreciate you hanging out with me. I expect that Wednesday, because of the Hobart thing, if you don't know what's going on, look it up. There's going to be a major announcement with a lot of the party leaders in Hobart on Wednesday evening, and I plan on attending that. So that will be on Wednesday. Tomorrow I should be back, and we can we can talk about more fun stuff. I'm sure there will be much more to cover between now and then. And to sum up, for those of you who may not have had a chance to get caught up on newsfeed, uh, President Trump's conference tonight that had started, he was rushed out because of a shooting on, my understanding, outside the White House. There was an individual that was shot by law enforcement, Secret Service, and was taken to the hospital. That's all the information that I have at this time, but uh, obviously there should be more information soon. So Trump resumed the news conference because, and someone said, "Are you?" I forget the exact quote, but basically, "Aren't you concerned?" He's like, "Do I look concerned? Do I look shaken?" Or whatever it was. Got to give him credit on that one. He nailed that. So uh, that's it for tonight. Talk to you again soon. God bless you. God bless Indiana. God bless the you.
If you'd like to support the show, please visit our Patreon at patreon.com/Dion's Daily Dose. This has been Dion's Daily Dose, hosted by Dion Bergeron. Executive producers Sean Holgram and Michael Beebe. Copyright 2020. Dion's Daily Dose. All rights reserved.